So we're going to talk about the first steps you should do exercising post-baby. As soon as you're ready to start doing something, which could be anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks to 2 months, we want to make sure that your stabilizing muscles, your balancing muscles, your supporting muscles are all working together like they should be. Of course, I would run this by your doctor just to make sure you don't have any high risk anything. I have clients who are like, I gotta work out, and they just want to feel like they're doing something, right? So talk to your doctor and just get that recommendation for when you're able to do some active exercise. This is not that. What I'm talking about today is specifically for the abdominal muscles, for the abdominal walls, and to help bring the muscles back together. Quick anatomy lesson. Your abdominals, it's not just like your six-pack muscles, right? These six-pack muscles, which we know of, right? They go right down the middle. And then you have your obliques. You have external obliques, and then you have internal obliques a little bit deeper. And you also have your transverse abdominis, which is like a big sheet that goes across your abdominals deep inside. It's not a show muscle. You can't see it, but it is very, very important. We're specifically going to be focusing on that transverse abdominal muscle and pulling those rectus muscles back together, and do a little bit of hip bridges to reactivate those hamstrings and glutes that may have stretched out a little bit during pregnancy. I'm not talking about running, I'm not talking about jumping jacks, I'm just talking about reintroducing your abdominals back into your normal body and being like, hey abs, remember me? Yeah, you have to support me, and we've got some work to do. What can happen during pregnancy is that these muscles separate, right? Because there's just so much room, right, that your abdominals can stretch. The worst thing you could do right now is just start doing sit-ups, especially if there's some type of separation that is not fully healed, and you could separate it more. You could have a hernia. Terrible things could happen. A couple postural things that happen during pregnancy. One is, of course, your front extends out. So this gets heavier. So what happens is, as this pushes out, your hips tend to tilt forward. That's going to lengthen the hamstrings, and it's going to shorten the hip flexors. It's going to maybe cause some pinching in the low back, which you may have noticed during pregnancy. It's mostly due to that anterior pelvic tilt. So what we want to do is we want to tilt the pelvis back, pull the abdominals in, and this is your new neutral position. This is your new posture, if you will. You want to check yourself, and you want to adjust your posture every chance you get, and just check, are my hips tilted forward, or am I sticking my tailbone out? Because if you're sticking your tailbone out, guess what else is sticking out? So there we go. We want to make sure that you have good posture. We want to make sure that those hips are aligned, that the spine is aligned, so that it can reduce pain and improve function. We're going to talk about abdominal pull-ins and glute marches. So you're just going to pull that belly in, make sure you're nice and tall, shoulders back, focusing on good posture. Make sure you can breathe. You're going to pull it in and hold. Hold it for 30 seconds. Rest, breathe, recover for a few seconds. Do it again 10 times. I like to set an interval timer so that I don't have to think once I'm doing it. I'll just set it up for 30 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest for 10 rounds. Another exercise you could do for that is the same thing, but you're going to pull it in all the way, release about halfway. Halfway, not a full relax. So pull it all the way in, release about halfway. Pull in, halfway. After you do maybe 20 of those, then release all the way, relax, let it rest again, and then see if you can do that again. And it's just a tiny, tiny little exercise, but again, we're rebuilding those core muscles. We want them to build in, we want to build them nice and tight as they are healing back together. For the hip bridge, once you're on the ground, feet about 90 degrees out, away from your body, put your hands, find your hip bones, and you want to tilt that pelvis back. Squeeze your glutes, you should feel your hamstrings fire up, so this is where you should feel the work. If you feel any strain in your back, come back down and work on tilting those hips, firing the hamstrings to lift up. Make sure you're not arching the back to get your hips off the ground. So once you're tilted and up in that bridge position, you can either hold, I would say hold that bridge for like 30 seconds, and then see if you can progress, see if you can do a minute, see if you can do 2 minutes, and making sure all the while that tailbone's tucked under, the glutes are engaged, and those hamstrings are nice and tight. Or march. So the goal is to stabilize the hips and don't let them rock side to side. If you can keep the hips stable and lift one foot at a time, then you have pretty good control of your glutes, your hamstrings, and that hip structure.
So it should be a nice straight line all the way from shoulders to knees.
That's it. So you may have just seen that and go, what? That is way too easy. That's like not even a workout. Well, I'm trying to ease you back in here. Your abs have not done very much work for a long time, and we want to make sure that your stabilizing muscles, your balancing muscles, your supporting muscles are all working together like they should be. Well, that's it for today. I hope this helps, and get to it.